United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Audience introductions.
Hello, friends.
Item 2, approval of agenda. Any changes?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Delegation of visitors. Seeing none, we'll move to item 4. Items for the information of the board. Superintendent report.
Yeah, so on page 4 there, it just talks about some of the activities. Had a lot of success with the Science Olympiad. I know I talked about it right before they had gone, but they ended up having 30 kids total. 9 of the 15 high school students placed there, and Kellen and Andy Jones got second place, which is quite remarkable for them to be able to achieve at that level. So that's really great. Again, both Miss Solom and Mr. Ferguson were the ones that took the students up there and spent the day up there. And I don't know if you got a chance to go up there or not.
I did not. I did
Okay. So a couple years in a row now we've done that, and they're planning on doing it again next year. And I think it's great anytime we can build up those opportunities for kids. I was obviously come from the sports side of things, but anytime we can create opportunities that are for our students that may or may not be athletes, but involved with other types of activities, I always think that's great to make that, provide those well-rounded opportunities for our students. So thank you to both of those staff members. And then following weekend at State Convention in Redmond, our online scrapbook, mostly done by Savannah Beach, and then took first place, and Jonathan Probst won first place, so he's going to be heading to nationals, which is outstanding. So for us to get a couple of first place items, that was fantastic. And then April 3rd through 9th, we had our group that went there. Aaron's going to talk about that during our Spotlight on Education, so I'm not going to steal too much thunder. A lot of you have already heard about it, know about it, but Aaron was there, and everything was going pretty well. I got a couple of phone calls until we were at the airport, or they were at the airport, right when everything was going down with whether or not a student may need to stay behind. And I appreciate the staff that were there and how quickly they were able to assess the situation and come up with a game plan. So, including Ms. Shore, who stayed behind and donated her time that way. So that was really great. And then we also had our annual high school track meet. I love saying the fact annual high school track meet is back again this year after we had a hiatus with a coaching change last year. And we were able to have quite the day. I actually had some car troubles I had to fix on Saturday, so I was not able to attend, but it was a beautiful day out here. I know that. And we had quite a few people, and it's been great to some of our local schools are the ones that come and participate. So it's been great. If anybody wants to add something on that, they can, feel free to. But we have a middle school track program, or middle school track event coming up in about a week from now, actually. And then we had our elementary students have an opportunity to learn from 3 high school varsity coaches during the month of April, every Tuesday and Thursday. Dana Green, who was at Sheridan, looks like she may be going to Willamina as the head coach. Denise Dickey, who obviously was here, but now at Delphi, and Lottie have been working with the young girls in grades 3 through 5, and we have a couple of young men who wanted to try to do it too. And that's actually gaining steam at the high school level now with the volleyball as well. Anyway, it's been great. I know the students are really enjoying it. And we have quite a few 5th graders that this is a good springboard for them as they're going into middle school next year too, to learn some skills. So again, the last thing I want to say is, this seems like it's the quickest that the 4th quarter has been upon us, I think, since I've been here. It's hard to believe that we're in the last quarter.
I know.
So, yeah, I got a text from an anonymous board member today saying 36 days. So, yes, that's correct. And I said last thing, but there's one other thing I do want to say. We are looking at, in the past, we've had some issues with getting service from our our web page developer. We have no assistance from them. Vanessa's our person that's doing the internet, the web page. So I think at the time, it was Eric, I believe, was the one that bought it. And I think he was trying to find something that was inexpensive, but still a website. And so that company, which I believe is an Israeli company, you guys said, right? Not that that really matters, but it's just overseas. And so we don't really get any type of help from that system. So Vanessa talked with quite a few schools, including St. Paul and Fall City and some of the others. And she's already spoken with one company, Aptigee, and then she has another appointment this Wednesday, correct?
Yeah, for a budget. I had a meeting with them and then they're going to give me their numbers on Wednesday.
That's the final
Final site.
site.
Mhm.
And the final site is the one that ESD uses a lot. I know Amity uses that one. So she's been working with both companies trying to get some
Have you looked at
negotiated
WordPress?
rates.
I have not. No, I went with the ones that the in our like board secretary group, the ones that were most recommended. And we had a few that I looked into, but that wasn't one of them. I can look into it though for sure.
I'm looking for the same for work.
Mm.
And I've looked at both of those. I'm impressed with WordPress.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look into that one. I'll add it to my list.
So we're looking into that. She has a little thing to just talk about some of the needs that we have. She may pass it out to you here a little bit, but just kind of why we are looking at that. She was able to negotiate some decent rates with Aptigee. I mean, relatively speaking, to whittle that down for the setup fee, and then the yearly fee wouldn't kick in until next year. But no, that rate's, even though it's lower than the 5,000 threshold, I still want to mention it to you because it's important for us to have a web page that's a little bit easier for people to utilize. And that's been one of the things we've talked about with communication, et cetera. And she really has been working hard to work on those things. And I think it feels like a never-ending battle for her sometimes. But it's something that when you're not getting any support from on an online system, it's almost impossible
We have that same problem at work. I'm sorry.
to do it. So
We do too.
so anyway, you've been doing a couple, and sounds like maybe a WordPress look too, but definitely that's something there. So again, if it's under that threshold, and we may end up, if we end up pulling a trigger on something like that, I'll make sure I let you folks know. But the one with Aptigee, that quote's good through the 30th. If we sign on then, so over the next 2 weeks, you'll be able to work on that, and then we'll look to see what that is. But again, it's more of an information because it wouldn't require that action. So,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
All right. We'll move to elementary, middle school report.
Yeah, today we had our dress rehearsal for Pirate Sounds, the concert, our first ever concert for our elementary band and xylophone group, and that went really well. They performed for their families tomorrow night. Last Thursday, we had math and literacy night, and that was decently attended, I think, for bringing it back in. Are you needing me to pause?
No, I'm she.
It's been a couple of years since we had an event like that, so we hope to grow it a little bit, but we had some great turnout and it was a lot of fun. Lion King is coming up. While it's not until next month, it is in full swing. Practices are just taking over every waking moment for some of our performers, so that's going to be a lot of fun to watch next month. Kindergarten Roundup is coming up. Oh, I passed over Daffodil Festival. We had 24 students who received some sort of award at the Daffodil Festival. So their work will be featured at the PPC auction, but then also some of their work has been chosen for future advertisements for the Daffodil Festival. So, and that was a K-12 opportunity, although we were able to pull in some kiddos that don't take art for a class. Some of them were interested in some of the projects, and some of those were able to be successful as well. Going back again, PPC auction is coming up. We've got all of our classes are creating baskets, and we've got lots of volunteers helping with that. It's quite a big project for those that are volunteering to help put those baskets together. But again, the funds go to classrooms and benefit our students. We've got our science adoption team has made the final decision at the elementary level of what they would like to recommend for an adoption for next year. And our middle school and the high school, I think they're pretty close to making their recommendations. So that's an exciting time for us to be making that next leap in our science curriculum. And I believe we'll be ready to bring that information next month. And one more item that was not on this report is that Mrs. Solemn has a group that is likely going to be going to the Civil War reenactment in mid-May. It's on a Saturday, so it's a field trip that'll be coming up. 7th and 8th graders, and we might actually have a couple of history buffs from our 4th grade that might be joining that I've been hoping and begging that they'll be able to. So if there's space, we're gonna let them join.
Where are they
And
doing that?
Lebanon.
That's
Yeah.
cool. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a 3-day event, but the part with the reenactments are on that Saturday. So we've got some kids pretty excited about going, and it sounds like Mrs. Salem and then probably Kaylin Hutchinson will be another staff member going, kind of depending on our numbers. So
Anybody gonna dress up?
I don't know. They've just heard about it Thursday. So we just kind of started throwing this possibility together, and it sounds like there's some great interest. So we will see. I don't know if our students will dress up necessarily, but they're excited to go. I think we've got about 20 interested so far. So that's it for
I didn't
my
know they
report.
did that there.
I didn't know either. I actually received the information from 2 different sources. I don't know if it's a new event or just one we haven't heard about before.
Interesting.
I saw an email about it this weekend, or I mean, maybe on
It's
Wednesday or
probably the
Thursday.
same one, yeah. I don't remember now the source of where we got it from, but I got it in a couple different areas. So
Cool.
really great.
Thank you.
That's all from me.
All right, we will move to the STEP report.
So we've got 34 students on IEPs. We've been scheduling our end of the year meetings. WESD has gotten in touch with me about our kinder transition kiddos that will be coming and needing support. Project-based learning class, they're creating the life-size sea animals and doing research projects on them. So we're hoping to have them on display somewhere in the school. I asked Dan if I could do the spotlight on education, and it to me is a no-brainer. Mr. Ferguson, oh my goodness, kept us very busy, and we did a lot in Houston. Went to the NASA Space Center, saw Mission Control, Museum of Natural Science, a basketball game, a mall. And then ended up at Baylor University for a tour and to watch the eclipse. And it was very busy. I'm still recovering.
It was crazy there.
But it was so great, and we had such a good time. The chaperones all worked really well together. I wouldn't have expected anything different. And then, as Dan said, special shout out to April, who stayed behind when needed. But yeah, Mr. Ferguson can plan a trip. So
I thought one great thing, I called, there was some change in plans that we had to do. We had to add an extra night at the hotel that last night because the other plans fell through at the Armory. So when I called to speak to the hotel manager or owner, got a hold of the manager, and then the owner had emailed us back too, but they said, hey, they'll make it work. It sounds like they were very fond of our kids and our chaperones, and they must have had a pretty good relationship with Brock. And then they invited us to come back. They were like, hey, every couple of years, come back. We loved your group. A lot of student groups. This was an amazing group to work with. And then asked for us to give him 5 stars on Google. But but you can tell that both of them were genuine in their admiration for what our kids were able to do and how they treated the property. I'm sure the rooms were pretty stinky by the end of the week.
oh
but,
my God, they were. I did room checks. They were, yeah.
But it was a really great opportunity. So Brock, the day he got back, that's where Brock has the bug with the travel stuff and students, is that he said, I've got some other ideas. So I said, that's great. And I was trying to talk him into like maybe every 4 years you do Houston, and every 4 years you do something else, whether it's Florida or something else, ecosystem wise or whatever, some other science related item. But because if we're going to, that'll give each kid an opportunity once in their high school career to do something Houston related. So with astronomy, and then something with whatever else may be the case. So there's
That's a great
opportunities out there, and it doesn't be Florida. I'm just using that as an example. But, so I was excited that he has that bug in him. He worked hard all year long, fundraising and everything else. And as a district, obviously we helped out. The parent club helped out. Parents pitched in, and I think overall that was really great experience. So thank you, Aaron, again, for
Yes.
spending your time away from the family as well.
It was a great time having constant talking.
The kids I did really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was this our only chaperones? I thought we had multiple others.
We had some other parents that were there as well.
Yeah, we had a couple other families there. I didn't include the parent chaperones, but we had one official and 4 kind of non-official that just joined the trip for some of the stuff. So
It was a big group.
Can we know who our parents were that attended?
yeah, Kayla Bronneman, Hella, Ren, and the Pars.
Kind of the ones you'd expect to see. Right?
And we were
And
very
Amber made a cameo
grateful.
also.
I was gonna say, I
Yeah,
saw a
Amber
picture with
made
Amber.
a cameo, and we were very grateful that Charlie got us coffee in the morning.
Oh,
That was
very
very nice and very needed. So yeah, it was great.
He needed a job.
Yes.
He did. Awesome.
Okay, any questions on the facility report or any comments about anything? When could this building be painted? Do you know? Because that backside.
Well, we
of-
did buy the white paint a while
Okay.
ago. We used it all to save money during the construction project. Troy brought out his storage of white paint. No, we'll do it cheaper. Here's the paint.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Then we have to replace that white paint, but yeah, so I mean, we have normal upkeep that we want to continue to do, and you'll see that in the budget stuff with you guys. You know, we still
Every
want to
time
make sure.
Brian
we're-
asks, check in and I hear about it, so I'm just wondering. so.
So, but tell Brian I have a roller.
You probably would volunteer.
We have a
Okay.
sprayer.
I was gonna say spray.
Hey,
on
no,
this
no.
on the 20th.
Don't tell
I
him
know,
that.
I was kidding.
It's a recording now, okay.
I did have one question when I was reading through this. It was more of like not having a baseball team right now. Is that field nicer and does it have a working scoreboard that the girls could play at? Does that
So
make
the
sense?
field would make the huge, so the girls' scoreboard's not working?
I went to a game. I don't think it's worked for a while. I went to
Or
a
they're
game.
just not turning it on.
Oh,
Or
I'm
are they
wondering
not
if they
turning
just
it
didn't have
on?
the remote. So I'll talk with Mr. G.
I
thought it worked.
I went to a game
Yeah.
early at the season and they did not have a
We were
scoreboard.
I'll
about
talk
like
with
the
him
last
about that,
second.
because we just installed those with, gosh darn it, Moore, Justin Moore.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can't remember the name of it.
DC Electric?
DC, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, put those in, just a handful of years. I mean, it was probably 2018, somewhere around there. So they're relatively new, so they should
Okay.
be in good working order. So I'm surprised.
The
As you can
bases
tell.
are significantly different
Yeah, just
distance and
pitch
so
them
the
out.
pitching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, but we want a working scoreboard.
Yeah.
So,
Was there anything
amazing.
else?
I just went to one game, so.
yeah, that's a pain. So I'll see if maybe it's a remote issue or then maybe something else. I mean, worst comes to worst, we order a new remote.
Do you
So-
wanna, what's going on with the sign? Did you want to share anything about that? Or?
I'm sure. So with the sign, Casey Paulus was a former student. His dad and him put that sign in years ago when he worked for Martin Signs in Salem. They then went on to Integrity Signs, started their own business. They live right past Troy Llewellyn, going into Dallas. And I asked Dave to come out and take a look a couple weeks ago, and he was able to do it finally this last week. Called us on Thursday and said, asked us to do some graphics. Vanessa was going to take a stab at it with some graphics. We also talked with a couple other people around here with Jade and Melissa with some of the work they've done and some of the file stuff they could do. But, he doesn't have the same pirate head, obviously, because he doesn't work at Martin anymore. I said, that's not a huge deal for us. We're fine to have a different design, but the structure of the sign itself is great. They can touch up the white parts, put some new plastic for the lettering, and just put on a new top. I went out there and looked and I called him and just said, I think this is structurally really good still. There's no rot. It was just from the wind. That would be my recommendation is that he hasn't gotten the actual quote to me, So that's going to be significantly cheaper just to refurbish that sign and make it look good again. You know, I know it's not accessible electronically from, you know, still the old reader board stuff, but I think it would look good. I think the sign lasts us a good 20 years already. So, and cost effective wise, I think it just makes sense. So I don't know if there's any objections on that, but once I get the quote, I'll let you know.
Okay.
I was happy to see the quality of the structure is still intact.
Yeah. At least we can reuse it.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we'll move to item C, new hires and resignations.
Yeah, so the first one is, so middle school track coach Sean Davis. Some of you may know that name. If you look up on the record board in the gym, he has a lot of our records for the shorter distances, the 100, 200. I think he was on the relay team. He has the record for that. He's really into track. He used to help coach at Wilhelmina, had some health conditions going on over the last few years. He's also the same guy, but now better. But he's also the same guy that does the presentation for our 8th graders every year as well. For they do an award for the what's that?
Who is he with? He's with
American Legion.
American Legion. That's right.
So, you know, he's excited to be back at Perrydale and helping out. You know, he was the one that helped create some of their previous record board that they had done years ago as like a senior project. He did it and worked with Brian Evans when Brian created that other board with him more to get an accurate snapshot of the records throughout the years, both when we had a more recent track program we established and the older records. So Sean's back and helping out. Very great. And then Jeanette IA, Tammy Morrow. I don't know if one of you want to speak about Tammy.
Yeah, I can speak about Tammy. Tammy comes to us from Falls City, and she, as well as our other new employee, Kylie, that we introduced at last board meeting, they have just come in seamlessly. Tammy is working a lot with the 3rd grade classroom, both in reading groups, math groups, lots of recess supervision, and she's just really become part of the classroom environment so quickly. She knows our kids really well. She's helping with out in front with the bus drop off and pick up, and she's just been delightful. So we're really glad to have inherited her from another district.
Our next one, I mentioned this to some of you before, our new CTE shop ag person is Kirk Fairchild. And Kirk comes to us from Oakland, Oregon, where the last 3 years he's been working in the metals and wood shop. And he also can do tractor driving certification. He's also done CNC machine work up there in McMinnville at the Maggot Place. And he also was at Imler prior to Oakland. So again, 2 of the stronger FFA programs in the state, and has worked closely with the gentleman down at Sutherland who runs the shop program during the summer for educators. And he's doing another program this summer to try to bring those things to our Perrydale kids. He's kind of doing an advanced program with that gentleman at Sutherland in order to try to bring some of those skills here. So excited to have Kirk back. I think it was great for him as a professional to go do his thing and then able to come back, and just recently got married and a kid on the way, et cetera. So he's excited to be part of the Perrydale community again and put some roots down here. So welcome. And then lastly is a resignation, and that's Cheyenne Locke. She is going to head back to Washington where she was previously when she worked at Hanford. She still has her house up there and was offered a position back at her back at Hanford, and ended up taking that. I think she has mixed emotions about the situation over the last couple of months. When she got the offer, I think initially she thought, it's a good opportunity, but then really felt good about the relationship she had made with the kids here. But she had gone up there to Washington, she said, over break, and it just felt like it was the right thing for her. So she's able to stick it out through the rest of the year, which is great. And then we just are posting a new math job. We reposted it actually with some corrected stuff that we end up reposting today with some corrected items on there.
I have 4 applicants without it.
being corrected, but
Yeah.
So
now it's
we got 4
corrected, so.
applicants, which is great. How many from overseas?
no, I did it. 2.
Okay.
Really?
Every time we post a job, we get at least 2 or 3.
Overseas.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings another added layer of visas, et cetera, that have been a little bit difficult last year when we were looking into it, but we're not sure yet. We have to look into it for this year.
Okay. We will move to a student success position.
So this is for you you can take this with you and look at. We'll talk a little bit about it now, and then there's the third one there. But then you can also take it back if you want to, and feel free to message me. We have not posted this position. This position's a little unique, and that's why I said I wanted to do some work on it and come back to you this meeting, because this position was created, with the new SIA dollars or high school success dollars, 6, 7, 8, well, gosh, it was like 8 years ago when we started creating it. And April had been doing it and doing a lot of this work. This is stuff that we had written down over the last few years, but then others, looking at what other schools do, et cetera, and trying to find some things that we could do to possibly change that, which is a little bit more on the backside, where we start looking at some of them to work with us on our school improvement plan, and also looking at some community engagement. Which is kind of like number 23, some of those items and talking about families. And I think I accidentally did 23 and 24. They're the same ones. I accidentally put it on there twice. I apologize for that.
It's really important.
What's that?
It's because it's really important.
Yeah, it is, but not why. Yes, exactly. So anyway, these are some of the items, but I think some of you may have some input on this. And so I thought it was important for us to at least have that discussion. And then also some of the required discussion points. So one of the items I wanted to bring your attention to is the last one, because that's something that we had talked about. There was some discussion, and I just wanted to get some of that input. I think there's some pros and cons on the education piece, but I don't know if that's something that we want to really mandate, because it's not necessarily a licensed position. There's some advantages of that, but there's also some other opportunities that other school districts have done without that. I would say that the more common is probably to have it, but also, I know some schools have said an associate's degree or something similar with possibly a background in education, et cetera, or working towards a bachelor's if they have the associates. So they're growing, so we're kind of flexible on that at this point. We did see that there's some flexibility within this state with the licensing for subs as well. So this person, whoever it is, whether or not they were licensed, well, if they're licensed, they can teach. But even if they're not, there's now, before they called it the emergency sub-license, they got rid of that, and it's now called district sub-license, where that person doesn't necessarily have to have their 4-year degree in order to be a sub, but that's somebody that's basically going to be kind of working in a building. It's going to be kind of a emergency type situation. So we want somebody, if they're going to do it, to be, a good fit for that. We wouldn't just do it just because. We want to make sure that we felt like that was a candidate who could do that, but that would help us in a pinch if we did have that. Right now we have Julia Wilson and Tracy Paya and April Shore, who all have their license. So if we do get in a pinch, they're able to help out. We try not to take them away from their job normally, because they provide other good services in other ways. But I think Julia's had to do it a couple times this year.
Yeah, I
And
think
Tracy
twice
probably-
actually, and both of them, we've been able to do just like a half a day or
Yeah.
a third of a day.
So it's not very often, but we don't also
Definitely
want to ever
doesn't
close
matter.
down school because we can't find a sub for,
Yeah.
a day here and there. And a couple of years ago, we had Ann Stevenson help us a lot. This year, Carolyn McMullen, but those are not, solid full-time positions that are permanent, et cetera. So we wanted, if we had somebody that had either their license or at least their sub-license like that, that would allow us some flexibility with that piece. Everyday Matters is just basically about attendance issues. So Student investment account obviously is one piece, the integrated guidance and same with high school success. All of those are pieces of it on that requirements discussion points.
I think a bachelor's degree is pretty important, but
I remember you saying that last time too. A lot of schools have gone that way. So, and I don't know if there's other things, other items with you, that again, it doesn't have to be right now, but you're just getting it right now. I get it, but I just want to make sure we at least started that discussion today. And then if there's any additional feedback, feel free to provide that. And, whether it's about the education piece, like Trina just said, or if it's about one of the other items, or something that's not on there, but that you think would be important for us to consider to have on there. That would be important for me to hear, I think.
Would this, I've kind of been looking through it, would this position be the one that would oversee, like if a student's wanting to take kind of an online class? I'm thinking of the, when the kids did sign language, like would this position coordinate that?
They usually do. So
Okay.
we've kind of gotten, so we have something different now. So there's two different, we use a lot of Shemeketa stuff for that. Orbit is good for some things. What we don't use anymore is education.
Oh, I see it. 37
Yeah.
days on for college courses. Okay.
So we use a lot with Willamette Promise. So like Brock, for example, and Tabitha teach classes through the Willamette Promise. So Morgan now too with Writing 121. Is our advanced biology with Brock. Those are items that go through Western Oregon and then also OIT with the Willamette Promise, and then Shemeketa. We have this. We do use Orbit for some high school classes. But again, we've kind of gone away. The good part about Orbit is that they have a teacher. It's been spotty for a couple of classes on using that. We do have somebody in-house now though that could teach ASL. So
Okay. I was
that's
just
something we're
thinking,
looking at.
I now that I found it, I was looking through it and I wasn't finding it. I think there should be stronger language than liaison, that you're like responsible for like tracking credits and student progress or something, but
Absolutely. I just put
Yeah.
these down here. So this is
Yeah,
not
I'm
like our
just,
actual
like-
job. Yeah. But I'll write that on there.
okay. And then I just in like kind of glancing, I think maybe some little stronger language just around like trade, because I know it's just, a lot of interest around trade professions. And then my last question is the financial planning requirement coming from the state. Does that kick in next academic year?
Yeah. So it'd be the year after. So we have two classes that work on that a lot. So we have personal finance, which we teach still as a semester long class. And then we also have the financial math, financial algebra that teaches similar things. And then we also have our advisory time that they're going to be able to utilize some of that for that
Okay.
piece.
So we're gonna meet
We're gonna
that
be really good on
standard under, okay. And does that kick in like this year?
26, 27.
26, 27.
Oh, so it's a few years off. Okay.
Just technically just a year. Yeah, I mean,
Or 25. Yeah, I'll have to look. 26, I know is in that number. So I'll
Okay.
look again.
Okay.
We feel pretty comfortable with where we're at.
Okay.
And I did send that information to Tabitha to look at what she's doing compared with what maybe the standards are for that, to see if she has to tweak.
I think it's
it or not.
25, 26,
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
just a year out. Yeah.
I was just kind of maybe reading all this. maybe
Sure.
Like with that, could this also help with that? But if we're meeting that requirement, then we're.
Yeah, again, we'll look at if we have to make any tweaks, but again, we feel pretty good with both what we're offering with the financial algebra class and then also with personal finance. A lot of schools went away from personal finance over the years, so it's like bell bottoms and crew cuts. It came back in style for us, I guess.
If anybody has any suggestions, do you want them to just?
Yeah,
shoot you an
please email.
Or,
That'd be great.
I mean, I'm not opposed to the, have your degree within a year or so of the job. I just don't think that
less than an associate's or less
that this position carries a lot of a weight, in my opinion. Weight and maturity. Can I say that? Is that appropriate?
And we could also put in there, if we went that route, we could put in there about, we could always look at saying something about preference, maybe given to someone with their bachelor's degree or higher, et cetera. And then put in there, if not, like the other piece. So that is one way of doing it. And then the salary range would be basically what you may think of it without, and then versus where that is. And if it's a licensed teacher, they'd be on that salary schedule. And so it's crafting that language, right? Kind of like what you were just saying, Katie, about some of the
Yeah.
stronger language would be the same thing with looking how we can word that. We probably have to get Rebecca's input on that because these are newer positions and it feels kind of like, the state's had some things that they've kind of implemented, whether that's been, with OLCC has always overlooked, other shops, but now they have other shops under their purview and there's a ton of those shops, right? And so it's kind of like, well, and it feels like some of these positions throughout the state are kind of that same, hey, we have all this, let's do this. Sounds like a great idea, but creating that and making sure it has that language that we just want to make sure we narrow that down. April was really good about working with us and crafting that better. But we still want to make some tweaks moving forward, but we want to solidify that language.
Is there, I don't know what everybody else thinks about this, a way that maybe we could contract with April a little bit next year to work with the new person? Because she has tons of contacts with trade school people and like to be able to, somebody's not starting from zero on some of those things. Because I think that she's, maybe I'm wrong, I think she's done a good job of building those relationships with those trade school things, and maybe she might be willing to come
Yes,
in
and
work
she
a
said
little bit.
if we get somebody on, in May or June, that she's here to help train them, and then I'm sure that she would be willing to do that. I mean, we would definitely reach out to her and ask her a little bit more, but she has said, I'll help whoever's coming in afterwards. She would definitely like to see the position succeed just because
Right.
it just helps something she has
She kind of
created.
created the position,
Yeah, she
in a
worked
lot of
hard.
ways.
Okay, we will move to consent agenda A. A, B, so I guess we can do them all at one time.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion passed unanimously. And 6, items for board action, administrative contracts. Do you want to do these individually or?
I move to approve the administrative contract for superintendent contract for Dan Dugan.
I'll second.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Unless it's down, we both do.
That's right. Any further discussion?
Just
All in
that.
favor? Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Have a motion on the next one.
I'll
I'll
move
make-
to
go ahead.
approve the administrative contract for Aaron Henry.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Thank you, Erin.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Wait,
motion
it's your
passes
turn.
unanimously. All right, we'll do number 3.
I'll make a motion to approve the employment contract for Christy Ford.
I will second.
Hey, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you to this team. Glad you all are here. Okay, move to item 7, patron input. Seeing nobody, we'll move to item 8, board comments.
I just want to say what a pleasure it was to work with our administration on their contracts. I'm just grateful as a board member to have such a cohesive group that respects and honors each other and really cares about our students. It's a pleasure to work with you guys, and I'm just grateful to continue to have you with us.
Well, I can't speak for them, but I think the feeling's probably pretty mutual for all of us. And it's been, I've had a lot of years here and a lot of board meetings that the relationship has been frigid at times and it's complicated. And I feel like it's definitely a different situation now, and I think that makes things a lot better, even, you know, for the conversations that aren't always easy to have. It's still having that relationship, I think, is important. So I appreciate everything, the support you all have given me, and then also the support that I get from these folks and these two folks over here. It's a really good team overall to work with here at our school. So thank you.
I just say one thing. This has been said a lot already at this meeting, but just thank you to you all, especially Aaron, and pass along to the rest of the team just on the Texas trip. I think it is amazing that a tiny little school like this can put on an experience like that for its high schools. And when I've told people, I mean, they were blown away that our kids were getting the experience that they were, and it's just very, very thankful for that. So
We try to not have a bureaucracy if we don't need to have one sometimes. So. But you know, a lot of schools balk at the idea. Like I've taken those tour groups over to the East Coast or Europe and stuff. There are schools that are not fans of those trips at all. And our school has always been supportive of our kids that don't always have those opportunities to go do that. And the amount that we were able to fundraise to lower the cost for this science trip was fantastic, because that opened up that many more opportunities. And we had families that stepped forward to donate enough money to help pay for some students who may not even been able to do the trip at all if they or their family had to contribute. So those are great things about our community. I really appreciate it. And just being able to, like you said, a small school to go do that and have 35 kids go. But thanks for the correction. You're that person that's like, it's not 8:30, it's 8:24.
that number hundreds of times.
Yeah, whatever. All right, 34.
And that's why he leaves behind his. Sorry.
So anyway, it was amazing.
Is there more pictures that are gonna go up on our Facebook page from that trip, just so people can kind of see what they saw?
Yes, I'm just working through them because we have some students whose parents
Right.
won't allow them to be. So
Right.
I'm just being extra aware and careful of who I'm posting. So
Thank you for that.
So,
Yeah.
nothing draws the scorn of a parent more
Oh,
than you posted their picture online usually without permission.
Okay, we'll move to item 9, announcements and dates of importance.
Yeah, so you see the item, we have first one tomorrow, the Pirate Sound and Band performance. The next one,
Is that here?
yes,
It is.
here tomorrow night at 6. We have the dress rehearsal one today, like Christy was saying earlier. Then we have the 4th grade field trip. There's Stauffer Farm, an annual tradition of Mr. Dieters. And then prom coming up here pretty soon. It's at the old Eichler Round Barn. And then we have outdoor school coming up sooner. I can't believe it's almost May already. So
Crazy.
you can tell it's almost outdoor school when April has the hallway commandeered with all of the crates of goodies, like different outdoor school items.
Five.
Yeah. So, and then kindergarten registration, we're also, Christy had talked about having some preschool opportunities for kids to sign up for that as well. Yeah. And then PPC auction, the 3rd. If you can go, that's great.
Do you have any details on that? I haven't seen it.
The PPC, they're doing it again at the same place there in Rickreall on the 3rd, so Friday.
Will they have anything online? Or is it just all in person?
As far as items have been on, I think it's probably in person, but I can try to find out about that.
That's okay. I was gonna message him. I just can't ever attend,
I
so.
don't know if Sean's planning on going, but if not,
I usually find him a
I'll
date and
hold the
send him.
number. I'll hold the number up for you. I'll spend your money.
I'm sure you will.
Yes.
I will ask about that because I need some stuff to like advertise on our page anyways.
Okay.
So I will reach out to them this week.
Great, thank you, Vanessa.
Yeah, we listen monthly.
And then the plant sale coming up for Mother's Day, the FFA plant sale. Yeehaw. Yeah, that's pretty fantastic. That's the 2nd year they've done that. And then we have the food drive coming up on the 16th. Does anybody know a little bit about that? I don't know as much about that one.
No, I just started seeing a little bit about it late last week. So I think they're still kind of working on
I wonder if that was through,
Is
is
it
that through the leadership
FFA?
program?
Yeah.
What's leadership?
Leadership that was doing something.
Next board meeting date?
Yes, the 20th. You get a month and 5 days.
Yes. And the first, don't we have our first budget committee meeting coming
Next
up?
week.
Next week, yes. Okay. Yeah.
Is that on Wednesday? When is that?
Monday,
Monday. Thank you.
Monday.
next Monday.
Okay. And, okay, at what time? Sorry.
6 o'clock. Training is at 5 if anyone feels like they need that.
All right. And if there's nothing else, we will adjourn at 7:46.
7:46, Vanessa.
I got it. Thanks.
Put that on the webpage.
Yes.